What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of SEC State of Mind presented by FanDuel. I'm Taylor Davis. My esteemed co-host Jason Campbell is unable to make this episode. Busy guy. Wi-Fi doesn't always work in your favor, but have no fear. If you're watching on YouTube, you're already going to know this, but if you're listening as a podcast, I've got another incredible guest for us on SEC State of Mind. The trend kind of continuing with these new coaches we're going to be seeing in the SEC, and today we are joined by Kentucky's head coach, Will Stein. Coach, welcome to the podcast, and welcome to the SEC.
Thank you, Taylor. I'm really excited to be on here with you. Obviously excited to be in the SEC, the best league in the country. Grew up as an SEC guy, diehard Kentucky fan as a kid. I actually pulled some pictures when I was at my mom's house last week.
You did?
Oh, yeah. Me in a little UK uniform when I was a kid. I can find that by the end of the show. I can pull it out.
We need the graphic support for sure. Section 128, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
I've done my research. And I do want to start with your story because obviously with my career, I love the storytelling element of this. And yours seems so full circle, not to put words in your mouth, but when you look at it on paper, it does seem like all the stops along the way to lead you back home. There's something really special about that. Like you said, being born and raised in Kentucky, your dad played at Kentucky, and obviously your career has taken you around, and you've been around some incredible coaches, Dan Lanning, Jeff Traylor, even Bobby Petrino at Louisville. To end up back home, to end up coaching the team that you watched as a little boy, what does this particular opportunity mean to you?
It's so surreal. It really is. I remember when Mitch called me and offered me the job, the first person I called was my dad, and it was emotional.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. And, he means so much to me. Obviously, him playing here, my mom went here as well, and just going to games in Commonwealth Stadium, now Kroger Field. As a kid, all fall was all about UK football.
Yeah.
And to be in this chair, representing my state, representing a school that I love, it really is surreal. And you mentioned I've been very fortunate in my career to be the product of great coaches.
Right.
My high school coach, Bob Beatty at Trinity High School. I played for Steve Crackthorpe and Charlie Strong at Louisville. I worked for Petrino at Louisville. Went to Texas with Coach Strong, and then I worked for Hank Carter at Lake Travis High School in Austin, Texas. Then Jeff Traylor, like you mentioned, at UTSA, then Dan. So it's just like been so cool to go through this process, and to be in this chair is really incredible.
When you kind of looked at this opportunity as being a head coach in today's version of college football, what was kind of the evaluation process like for you? Because what I do know about you, having listened to interviews and kind of following your career over the years, you really love the X's and O's part of it, right? Like I've heard you say, there ain't a play that I don't like. I love the play calling. I love the positional development. What about being a head coach piqued your interest now? Because that opens up a smorgasbord of responsibilities beyond the X's and O's.
It really does. And you're exactly right. But I think the biggest thing in this job that I've learned is you have to hire the right people, guys with high IQ, high character, people that love the game just like you. I hired Joe Sloan as my offensive coordinator, Jay Bateman as my defensive coordinator, Parker Fleming as my special teams coordinator. All these guys love ball. They're just like me, and I really believe like-minded people surround themselves with other like-minded people. And so I still get the amount of football that I want in my day-to-day as I did at Oregon. Now, do I have other duties and responsibilities? Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm not just overlooking the offense. I have
Right.
the entire team to oversee. I have strength and conditioning, nutrition, facilities, donor relations. There's so much media with you. There's a lot of other boxes to check off throughout my day. But, I've learned from some great guys. Obviously, Dan, to me, is a great mentor and a great person that I look up to, because arguably he was the best defensive coordinator in college football leaving Georgia. And what he did at Oregon wasn't call the plays. He was overseeing everything, but he still had his hands in all of the facets of the program. So really taking the model that I learned from Dan, but with my own authentic style to it, and putting my best foot forward for this team and for this university. And so far, everything's been really good, and really excited about what we're building here at Kentucky.
Yeah. I, I've always having the opportunity to cover different conferences, different teams, kind of immerse myself in the experience. I've always said Kentucky is a place that has everything it needs. Like it doesn't lack for anything. And so I think there's something really exciting about the future and what could be happening very quickly. And having seen reports out of spring ball, I've heard a lot about the intensity, the energy, the situational drills, how meticulous you are with all of this. What has been important to you to establish in terms of expectation, even as early as April practice?
Well, the first thing that I've really tried to hang my hat on since being here is building the connection within the team.
Yeah.
I know that's cliche. I know everybody says about culture and all that, but the most connected teams play the hardest for the longest. They do. And when you're in November and it's colder outside, it might be raining or snowing, or you're in these tough environments, that's when the connection matters the most. So we've
Yeah.
done multiple different things with our teams, especially on Wednesdays. We call them get reels, where we talk about everything besides ball. We talk about our guys' purpose, their why, having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, talking about process. And we just finished up really a 5-part series where we have each guy tell their story, and not in big
Really?
group settings, but in small group settings where
Yeah.
we change up the rooms each week, and there's different coaches involved, and it really starts with the setting of your story, where you're from. Then it goes into the characters of your story, like who you're around, like who you grew up around, and then the adversity that hits in your life. And then today we really finished with, the goals and aspirations that you have, and then like moments of joy in your life to where
Yeah.
guys actually know each other. I mean, there's 44 or 45 new players on this roster from the last season. There's new coaches. Like everybody's got to learn each other. Before you can go out there and play hard for each other, you got to know the guy next to you. And the
100%.
players got to know that the coaches believe in them. And it's not just a transactional relationship where we bring them in and spit them out. Like we're actually invested in our players. And then a spot where like coaches enjoy to coach here. Like where I can go out and have a beer with one of my assistants. And it's not
Yeah.
like it's normal,
Yeah.
like, and I don't want to say it's like a high school environment because, but it kind of is like you just like it's like a brotherhood, it's a
Right.
family, and that was the most important aspect from day one that I wanted to build and establish. And then when you talk about like the football part, it's really just building like the toughness and a
Yeah.
mindset of winning in everything that we do. There's nothing that we do that doesn't involve competition or a
Mm,
winner or loser. And that toughness aspect has to be a part of our everyday life, because guess what? Like life is hard. Life is
totally.
tough. I tell the guys all the time, like we can go 99 yards and not score. And we worked all that time to get to the 1 yard line to punch the ball in. That's the same with life. Like you and me both. You could work
Yes.
your whole life for a career and a moment in your career that you want so bad, but it might not be the right time of your life to take that.
Totally.
So like that's what we're trying to build: a tough mindset, a connected team. And to me, when you can establish that as your process in your day to day, it just gives yourself the best opportunity to win on Saturdays.
We talk about that so much on this podcast because Jason is still so close with his teammates. That '04 team, they weren't just incredibly talented. That entire backfield went in the first round,
Yeah,
but they were all truly brothers. So it made it way easier to face adversity on the field when you're riding that hard for the guy next to you. So
I
I
know.
think that it's kind of been an afterthought in the past few years with so much change in college football, but the best ones still have that common denominator at the helm. Have you been a part of any teams in your tenure that really kind of stand out to you as having like that bond is what got us a lot of success
I mean, the last three teams in Oregon
at
were
Oregon?
extremely bonded. Yeah, they were. And again, it was really led and fed through Dan and our coaches, and then just
Yeah.
bled into the team. And that to me was a big separator. Were those teams really talented? Yeah, but I mean, when you get to that point in college football where you're playing for it all, everybody's talented. So
For sure.
yeah, that bond is huge. Even my time at UTSA, we had a stretch of two conference championships back to back. I mean, those were really bonded teams. And
Yeah.
shoot, when I was a player in high school and college, my best teams were where I was the closest with the guys. I
Right.
mean, I lived with my buddies off campus, or I dormed with them in Betty Johnson Hall. Like, and they're in my weddings. And
Oh,
that's what we're
that's
trying to
cool.
do here. I mean, it's so much more than just the game. The game is obviously a major, major part of all this, but I think we're
Right.
just building something here that's even bigger than that, and not defining our success just by what happens on the field of play, but everything else.
Yeah. Well, as we are kind of in the thick of spring ball, there are a few positions that I want to talk to you about. And I think the obvious starter would probably be the quarterback, but that's not where I want to start because you hit the ground running and the offensive line was a very high priority for you. And I can't tell you how many game recap episodes that Jason and I have done over the past couple of years that start and end with the line of scrimmage. Like that element of SEC ball in the past few years has separated elite from good. Why was that a point of emphasis for you so early, and what do you think that you've added in the front for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the game is really one up front, and
Yeah.
I mean, we all love the go balls and the passing game. That's so much fun to watch, and like it's exciting. But when it is nut cutting time and you have to run the ball to go win a game in the fourth quarter, especially in the SEC, where there's giant human beings on either side of the football, you
Yep.
have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. You have to. The best teams I've ever been a part of. We talked about connection is a as a trait of one. Line of scrimmage play is really the main factor
Yep.
in winning and losing football games. The last three teams I've been a part of had Joe Moore Award finalists for the offensive line. It's the best offensive line unit in the country.
Yeah.
I hired Cutter Leftwich as my offensive line coach from Oregon, who was my run game coordinator there, to be our offensive line coach here because he knows what it takes to be great.
Yeah.
Right? I have four offensive line coaches. Four.
Wow.
Cutter. I got Dallas Warmack. I got Adam Kleffner, and I got Paul Rodriguez as my GA. So we have three guys that are O-line coach, run game coordinator, and assistant O-line, and then a GA in that room because that's how
Wow.
much that matters.
Yeah.
There's 16, 17, 18 guys in that room to coach, so we need four O-line coaches. And we
Nice.
have, I mean, we signed some elite players up front. I really like where they're at. I think they're, number one, they're big. They look the part
Yeah.
and they're really talented and they are just great guys. Like the O line is really like the heartbeat of your team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the most selfless individuals in football. They never even see the ball. The ball's always behind them. The only time they see is when they're like, pass is thrown. Everything else, like they play with their back to the football, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So they're truly selfless individuals. And when we're at our best on offense is when the offensive line is cooking.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's move on to the quarterback position because obviously this is your wheelhouse, and you have had some incredible ones. Most recently, obviously, Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel. I mean, like even Frank Harris at UTSA. I covered him a few years ago. He was great. What is kind of your philosophy? Because I think one thing that is repetitive when looking at your offense is the guys seem to thrive in what system you're putting them in, and it's not always going to be copy paste. Like it's truly working to the strengths of the respective athlete and allowing them to be in situations that thrive. What is kind of your overarching philosophy on the quarterback position? Not specifically the room that you have at Kentucky, but what has afforded a lot of success for guys that have been under your tutelage?
Well, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you talked about we've always done a great job of morphing the system into the quarterback,
Okay.
not forcing somebody into this is what we do. We do this no matter what. Frank Harris was an elite dual threat guy. We
Yeah.
ran zone read. He was good vertical passing game, outside lane throws, simple concepts, and could run,
Yeah.
but was extremely competitive. Bo Nix, an elite passer,
Yeah.
processor, loved empty formations and
Hmm.
tempo. So we played a lot of empty formations and tempo with Bo. Dylan Gabriel, another guy that came into us from really the Levy, the Brile system, had a big background in RPO games, so we did a lot of
Right.
RPOs with Dylan. But then I think we helped morph him from just an RPO quarterback into a guy that was a non-drafted free agent to a third-round pick,
Yep.
and he worked his butt off to really understand how to get under center, use cadence variation, and allow him to check plays at the line of scrimmage. And Dylan was elite inside the pocket. That's one thing
Hmm.
he was really good at. So he
Yeah.
was really going to drop back pass. And then Dante, it was like a blend of everybody.
True.
Um, he could run RPOs, he can go under center, pro style. He's kind of a sneaky, decisive runner. So we did things to try to elevate his game. But that's the key. Is not just to run the same old plays every single year just because you love the plays. What actually fits the quarterback? What fits his eye?
Yeah.
Have real conversations with them about the game plan. Hey, dude, like I love this call, but do you love this call? Because
Right.
if I love it and you don't love it, then the play's not going to work. Let's both come together. If you love it, I love it. Let's call it. Let's call it 3 times in the game. Let's
Yeah.
dress it up the second or third time. I would ask him, let's rank the third downs. I'm going to call this third down and four first, this one second, this third. Do you like that order? No,
Mm.
coach, I want the third one first. Okay. I'm not the one playing. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. I'm not out there playing.
Right.
And I'm glad I'm not because it's way faster and more physical than I could ever handle. And I was an average player. So let these guys like make some decisions and have some autonomy within
Yeah.
the system and be able to talk and have real conversations with the players. It's a working relationship with the quarterback.
Right.
It is coach to player. There's the respect factor, but it's also, man, we're in this together. I tell guys all the time, they're going to pan a few guys on the sideline during the game. They're going to look at me now, head coach. Joe Sloan's going to get a TV view up in the box.
Yep.
Right. Kenny Minchey's going to get the other one, and Jay Bateman's going to get the fourth one. That's about it.
Yeah.
And that's everything that everybody's going to talk about is the quarterback play, the play calls, and the head coach decision making. So we need a tough guy, and we all got to be on the same page.
Yeah, I love that collaboration element. This is kind of a sidebar I wasn't planning on asking you, but it just made me think of it. What are your thoughts on the helmet communication, specifically in terms of tempo? Because I see it on the sideline a lot. Like sometimes it's going to impact the speed of the game that maybe you ordinarily wouldn't have wanted it to. Not that your tempo is just cut and dry tempo. You throw it around and it's really kind of keeping them on their toes. But when you want to go fast, that element of it has kind of at times thrown another caveat to the speed of a game.
Yeah, I mean the coach to player communication, I love it. I really do. I think it allows you to do a lot more things. You can obviously talk to the quarterback or the backer, whoever's got the green dot. That's huge. It hides signals. It does. It's kind of funny. I don't know if it necessarily speeds up the play. I think it's slowed down the play.
Yeah.
Because if you can talk to the guy and give him the call, well, then more teams are huddling. More teams are slowing stuff down.
Right.
Because when you know huddle, you got to look to the sideline for a signal. And then that's when guys are up in the box with their binoculars on and looking at the signals.
Yeah.
And writing them down.
Yeah.
I said this not too long ago. If you do, every time you do this, it's a pass and you're an offensive coach and you do that every time it's pass, well, the defensive guys are pretty smart. They're going to catch on to that. They're going to be playing some cover 2 every time you do that.
You put it on tape.
Yeah, you put it on tape. It's not cheating. And if you do it in the game multiple times, well, they kind of catch on.
Yeah.
I know. So I love the coach to player communication.
Yeah.
I think you can talk too much to them sometimes and cloud them.
Yep.
So you have to be very specific. Dante and Dylan, because this is Bo never got this because we were all signals there. It wasn't we didn't have this technology then. Give them the play, maybe a reminder or two down in distance, and then let them play ball.
Yeah.
Like these guys are really good. Kenny Minchey, same way. Don't cloud them with so much stuff that they get frozen. Just go. They're good. We practiced all week. Give them the call. All right.
Let's back to that autonomy.
Hey, watch out. This is the pressure down for them. That's all you need. You don't need to say, hey, corners here. Hey, backers here. No, because by the time it goes 15, it goes dead, and then they're thinking about all this crap.
Yes.
They'll play ball.
Paralysis by analysis can tap in at that point. I do want to know a little bit more about Kenny Minchey because I have heard you talk about him very poised, finding his voice, but when he steps in the huddle, they feel him, a guy that seems like he's been playing in our system for a while. Tell us a little bit more about what you've seen from him so far in that role.
Yeah, I mean, he is extremely intelligent, and he's been able to pick up on what we've been doing from the very first install. Even today, I felt him in a huddle situation, call the play, just with moxie. He was concise, he was clear, he was confident. And because play calling in a huddle is truly like a lost art.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was growing up, I know I sound like I'm old. I'm not that old. When I was growing up, back in my day, no, when I was a grade school kid, 5th and 6th grade, you ran over the coach. He told you to play. You ran the huddle, and you said, hey, we're going to go split right offset, 24 blast, ready. Boom. That was one of my grade school plays, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah. And you would call a play, and you would get under center, as a 5th grader. You just did that. So guys aren't raised that way. Guys are all raised no huddle, clap system for cadence. So to see Kenny take the huddle and like look
Mm,
guys in the eye and say it clearly and just spit it out. And then after plays, be like, hey, running back, you're too fast, man. I can barely
yeah.
hand you the ball. Like that's the leadership that I love. It's not a rah-rah, like
Yeah.
win one for
Pound the
the
chest.
Gipper type speech. No,
Right.
it's just like a confidence, that
Yeah.
I love. And that's what Dante had, Dylan had, Bo had. None,
Mm,
none of those guys were like, they get rah-rah when they need it, when they were just like naturally doing it,
sure.
but it wasn't forced. So that's why I love Kenny. He doesn't force anything. Um, Super accurate. Like that's one thing
Yeah.
to
That's
know.
what
I
I've
mean, like
heard.
really accurate. And we talked to Mike Denbrock and Gino Gaduli at Notre Dame, and they loved him. It was really like a toss up. And they felt, I mean, what we got from them is if Kenny would have played last year, they felt like the same results would have happened for him. Like that's how
Wow.
confident they are in him.
Yeah.
I talked to scouts, that come to practices that I would call, hey, we're looking at Kenny Minchey. Like you were at Notre Dame practices. Like, what'd you think about him? Everybody raved about him. Then you put
Wow.
on the tape, yeah, you could say he never started, whatever. But when you look at the throws that are, the pockets collapsing, or is he
Yeah.
throwing on time, or the accuracy, the precision, the timing, it all like matched exactly what I was looking for.
Wow.
So he's got a great arm. He reminds me a lot of a guy that I coached at Texas, Shane Buechele.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he's kind of got some Shane Buechele-ism
Okay.
to him. He's a little bigger than Shane, but like kind of the same like moxie because Shane wasn't a
Yeah.
big rah-rah guy, but
Yeah.
just like got the job done and was really accurate and still playing in the NFL. So I love Kenny and I love where he's at right now and excited to see him continue this trend throughout our summer installs and into fall camp.
That's awesome. Sometimes those guys, when they speak, it's a little louder because they're
Totally.
not the pound the chest kind of
Yeah.
guy all the time. Speaking of playing in the NFL, I got to ask you about the tight end position because you are high on that room. And obviously, you've been around some impressive ones. Sadiq was just incredible to witness. And obviously, he's got a bright future ahead. But Willie Rodriguez, Henry Boyer, you mentioned Skinner the other day and something you saw. What is impressing you most about that group? And is that something that you intend to utilize a good bit?
100%. 100%. Yeah, I was around obviously Kenyon and Jamari at Oregon. Kenyon's gonna be a first round pick,
Yeah.
and then part of that, Terrence Ferguson, who was a second round pick by the Rams.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, he's an exceptional football player. He really
Wow.
is. He's really tough. I think he's got good speed, elite hands, good route runner, smart. Um, he's around probably the same size as Kenyon, 6'3" and some change, but he's just like a football player. This guy's
Yeah.
good. He's really good. So I do think he's going to have a long career in the NFL. I think he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the country.
Wow.
And Henry Boyer, he's like your true inline Y. He reminds me of a lot
Okay.
of guy we had at Oregon named Patrick Herbert, who was
Mhm.
Justin's little brother, who's now
Mhm.
Patrick ended up, I think he's on a practice squad or in the league, but Henry's probably got even a little bit more talent than Pat did. And he's just big, physical. And I love what he's done in the pass game for us and the run game this spring. And then Skinner, I think he can do a lot of things. He can line up wide, he can line up in the backfield. And I think he's a matchup nightmare on the inside. He's just got to continue to push and to grow in the game, in the system. But in terms of talent, he's been really good. And all of them are so coachable and willing to
Yeah.
go out there and work and block when they're supposed to or catch the ball when they're supposed to. So, no, the tight end's kind of like the lost position. It's like the jack of all trades. And,
Yes, which is
they
such
kind of
a
get lost
shame.
in but they are so dynamic for an
Yes.
offense and they present so many matchup nightmares that we have to use these guys.
When done correctly, it's the best Swiss Army knife that you can
Oh,
have.
yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah.
and you do have you've described your wide receiver room as deep but unproven. So to know that you've got that weapon in the tight end room that stacked also kind of allows for the entire thing to kind of assimilate over time. Has there been an element to spring ball so far? I mean, because you're learning this group, you're learning this workflow, and it for this particular group of individuals. Has anything surprised you so far? Not necessarily that you weren't expecting it, but just that you're seeing it already?
I guess like you don't know if there's going to be any like resistance or like
Yeah.
pushback, like we're all new. There hasn't. These guys have been
Wow.
so coachable and just willing to learn, and they've brought a true growth mindset into every single day. And this
That's
is a new way
awesome.
to practice. I mean, from what I heard, there was
Yeah,
3 breaks at spring ball practice before I got here.
true.
I never heard that you get breaks in spring ball practice. That was new to me. I was like, we gotta go eat like oranges and get the watermelons
Yeah,
out in a tent. Like, what are we doing? I mean, it's like spring, and we're not in like the middle of summer practicing
that's
football, you
true.
know? So there was a mindset change. There
Yeah,
was, and they've been receptive. I mean, we thud in practice. Like we don't take to
yeah,
the ground unless it's like a scrimmage situation, but like we're physical. And why do I do it? I just saw it work for the last 3 years. I
right.
know it works. Do we have to be smart with our players? Yes. But when it's time to go out there and thud and practice, like we're gonna go. And
Yeah.
these guys have not batted an eye. And it's just a new way. There's new drills to learn. There's new rotations. We have a blue team and a white team. We don't have ones and twos in the spring.
I read
Like we don't
that.
have a depth. But I don't think a depth is needed in the spring. Just put
Why?
everybody out there. Why? Because if we were to have a depth on day one, I would lose half my team.
Okay.
I'd lose half of them.
Yeah.
And it forces young guys in the mix early, and they don't
True.
have to be next to another freshman or another redshirt freshman that doesn't really know how to play college football yet.
Right.
You know, like if we were to
That's
just put like a
true.
freshman group out there, it looked like freshman high school football. It would
Yeah.
be if a freshman offense was against a freshman defense or like a 3 group, it'd be it just wouldn't be good.
Right.
So put them all out there together. Let a freshman
Huh.
play next to a senior. Let Kenny Minchey go out there and play with maybe not the starting projected offensive line and see if we can go manage. We were playing
Oh,
against USC at home last year, and I had my backup left tackle, backup center, and backup right tackle in on the second drive of the game.
yeah.
And if you don't get these guys in the mindset of just next man up, doesn't matter, put me in, coach, then they're just not ready for their moments.
Yeah.
So I love not having a depth this time of the
That's
year. I
cool.
don't think it's needed. You get
Yeah.
more good on good too. There's not like a
It's
big
true.
discrepancy in groups. Like it's just good ball. And
Yeah.
is it perfect? No, but I do think it's necessary for development at this stage of our season.
That's awesome. I mean, it was such a crazy period of time when all of the coaching changes and news and who's going where and what domino is going to fall first. It was such, and all the while, ball is still being played. Like it was the craziest time of year, and I would imagine more so for those of you that were juggling a lot of it. But when that really became the likely next step for you, what was your kind of initial first order of business in terms of Kentucky football is going to look like this under me? You've seen a lot of iterations of Kentucky football over your life, having been a fan. If someone told you you're going to be the head coach of Kentucky before it was real, what was important to you that it was going to look like, even in the midst of the chaos of that time of year?
That's a good question. I don't know if I thought about like how it's gonna look like. I
Yeah.
just like it's gonna be a big time program, you
Okay.
know? Like it's a big time program. Like let's not be okay with average or mediocrity. Like let's have a GM because a GM is needed in college football. So I hired Pat Biondo immediately.
Wow.
He's on the plane with me to Lexington. He's not the chief of staff. He's not the director of recruiting. He's the general manager. Because
Yeah.
why? That's what big time programs have. And that's what
True.
we're going to do. And we're going to recruit like a big time program. We've had 5 of like the top 10 quarterbacks in the country on campus here. Now we've got to close on them, but we've had the like top 3 offensive tackle in the country here 2 days ago. Just put us in
Wow.
the top 5 against Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia. Like this is a big time program.
Yep.
Like we're gonna spend where we need to. I got $2.5 million coming in this weight room that needed an upgrade.
Yeah.
That's starting on like about 2.5 weeks.
Nice.
Like it's a big time program, so let's
Right.
treat it that way, and let's start from the very beginning. Let's not be okay with what happened in the past. Let's take a step forward in today's modern college football. Let's be adaptable. Let's not be reactionary. Let's be forward thinking. And that was really the mindset that I took. So I don't know if that really talks about how the team is going to be. It's really just my
Yeah.
mindset in the program. Like this is a big
Totally.
time program, and
Yep.
let's treat it as such.
And is that kind of what your message is at this point in recruiting? Because it's a totally different game when you're recruiting and they're on the sidelines of a football game, seeing the product, seeing it in action, seeing the environment, than when they're on campus right now, just watching some practices and hearing you talk about it, but it's yet to be put into action per se. Is that still kind of your lead in all of this? Because I have read there is a lot of momentum happening quickly.
There is. And, like I've told guys on just sitting in my office here, like, I don't want to beg or plead or pray that you're coming to Kentucky. Like, I want
Yeah.
you to come here because you want to be around people that are going to be invested in you on the field, off the field. You get to play in this conference. You get to play for Big Blue Nation and Kroger Field. And this is a spot that we will win, and not
Yeah.
say it can be or it might be or I got a vision. Like, let's just speak this thing into existence. Let's work every day like our hair's on fire, and let's just grind it out. Let's go to
Yeah.
work and not sit back and like hope and wish and pray. So, yeah, I've been a part of, I think, around like 69 wins in the last 6 seasons. It's like
Jeez.
over 11 something wins a year. I'm not used to losing. I'm
Right.
not. And how do you become a winning program? You have to have a great process. You have to have alignment from top down, and then you got to go get players. You
Yeah.
have to. I mean, you mentioned the quarterbacks I've coached. I'm a lot better play caller when I got those dudes.
Oh, well.
I mean, when Kenny's back there, we look better,
Yeah.
like, so we got to continue to push. We got to sign these players, then we got to retain them, all right, or we got to acquire them, and then we got to retain them. Like, we just have to. And there's a lot that goes into college football, but I'm not here to sit back and wait and just like hope it all works out. I'm going to push the envelope,
Yeah.
and I'm not sorry about it. That's the only way I know how to do it is like
Right.
push the envelope and keep going and keep going. And if we can't figure it out, let's like pivot and go a different direction. But right now it's full steam ahead, and it's really exciting. It really is.
That's so cool. Well, and that goes back to that authenticity piece that you were talking about in the very beginning. And I do think even with all the craziness in college sports right now, these kids do still are drawn to that. To somebody that's just going to shoot them straight and tell them kind of facts. And you just did that. So it definitely seems natural for you. Have you thought about, we're going to close here, but have you thought about what it's going to feel like when you run onto the field as the head coach at Kentucky for the first time?
I kind of did. We had our first spring scrimmage last Saturday in Kroger Field, and I mean that was like my first time. I kind of like running on the field with like our players out there. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Definitely excitement,
Totally.
butterflies. The natural feelings that you get. But yeah, I mean, it's surreal when I put these colors on. When I get to wear Kentucky across my chest, it really is surreal, and thankful for this opportunity. But we're just getting started.
Yeah.
And the nostalgia is one thing, but I didn't take this job just because I love Kentucky. I took it because it's an opportunity to win and to win at the highest level.
Mic drop. Perfection. Coach Will Stein, thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us for Kentucky Spring Ball. That is going to culminate with the spring game, which you are bringing back April 18th, 11 a.m. You'll get your first chance to see this team a little bit, and then we look forward to what the fall is going to hold for all of you. So best of luck moving forward. Hopefully I'll be on the call for one of your games, get to see it up close and in person. But until then, we'll be pulling for you in this new opportunity.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate you having me on. Go Cats.